Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hello, hello.
All right. Welcome to the session. And let me introduce Matt to you guys, and then I'll just hand it over to Matt to do his thing. His lovely chat today is on GitHub Actions, supercharging your pipeline for test automation. Matt, over to you.
Thank you very much, Larry. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Can you see my screen already? Just that I know. Now. Great. I can see it now. Okay, great. So we had some technical issues in the beginning, but now everything seems to be very okay. Super, yeah. Hello, welcome to everyone. Good morning, lunchtime, or whatever time you are at the moment. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to share something about test automation and CI/CD. Yeah. So let me tell you a story. You know, the world is changing fast. Yeah, tools, new approaches appear like every week, month, or at least year, and we need to adapt. Yeah, and also we as testers, test engineers are affected here, and we need to learn new approaches, new technologies, and apply them. And that's the reason today also why I talk here about GitHub Actions as a test engineer. And today I will show you your hands-on how to build and integrate your test automation suite to an end-to-end pipeline. But before, let me introduce myself. Who am I? Who is speaking here? And my name is Matthias Zax. I am from Austria, Vienna, and I work as an agile engineering coach in Raiffeisen Bank International. An agile engineering coach is supporting teams to increase in their maturity level of software development. And so I personally, I'm here specialized in test automation. This is also my passion, and I have the developer by heart attitude, as I call it, because originally I'm a developer. And here I'm also an organizer of community of practice for test automation, so strong internal community. You see already this topic really drives me. I'm also sharing it on conferences, IT magazines, where I'm present. Privately, I have a daughter, 3 years old. She's cute, sorry, delightful, I want to say. And you can see here also my developer heart in the binary numbers. I'm also passionate and also certified griller, which you can see in the pictures, just to get a little bit context. Who is speaking here? If you want to get in contact with myself, please use this contact data, preferable on LinkedIn. Why I talk about GitHub Actions? This is a test engineer. You know, test automation is software development. I'm more than sure that you know that, but still I want to elaborate on that. So it is test automation, it is software development. Yeah, so we also need to build our product, yeah, and we also should integrate it to an end-to-end pipeline. And that's the reason why we need to care about it. Yeah, so we need to treat our test automation code with the same passion and same importance as the so-called business-related code. And therefore, we have to integrate into the pipeline. And I know that we all have our job roles. Yeah, we have the developer, test automation engineer, tester, business analyst, and you name them. But with more and more getting into agile and DevOps teams, we get to cross-functional teams. Yeah, so we need to know more things. Of course, we have our specialization. Yeah, in my case, not test automation, but still, I need to know how development code is done, how I can do requirement engineering, and also how I do CI/CD, how I can build a pipeline. I'm not be the expert here, definitely not, yeah, but I need to know it and need to apply it. And the time where, you know, the tester or test engineer is the dependency, if it's, hey, can we run our tests? And then you call or write the tester and he is running the test on his local machine. Yeah, these times are over, yeah. I mean, we want to have kind of the test execution after each deployment, after each build, yeah? And then deployment, of course. And we don't want to ask someone that someone has to execute tests. And there's a solution. I mean, I spoiled it in the title, but the solution is Jenkins. Or, I mean, everyone uses Jenkins. And Jenkins is dead. I'm sorry, okay, maybe let's put it on the quote, yeah, because Jenkins is maybe not bad, because I'm very sure a lot of people and engineers are still using it, and good, there are maybe reasons for that. But GitHub Actions is not in the house, at least in the RBI, so Raiffeisen Bank House. So we went for GitHub. That's also the reason why we went for GitHub Actions and use it now very, very commonly. This does not mean, this is not a product pitch, please. Yeah, this is just a success story from our company. There are a lot of other tools around, as I mentioned, Jenkins, GitLab CI, or from AWS, and so on and so forth. Yeah, GitHub is just the one which we use. That's the reason why I present GitHub. It's not a marketing pitch. What is GitHub? I mean, what is GitHub Actions, or what is GitHub? I mean, I guess you know that one. Yeah, but still, let me give you some informations to come in the foreground again, to activate it. So GitHub was founded 2008, yeah, and since 2018, it's owned by Microsoft. And Microsoft, the company which brought us ChatGPT, I mean, at least partially. And in GitHub, you have these Git repositories. I mean, we all know this. And GitHub Actions is the feature from GitHub, which offers us the continuous integration and continuous delivery capacity. So this is kind of the CI/CD platform from GitHub, what they offer. So here you can build, test, and deploy your product with it. And the cool stuff is here, everything is stored in your Git repository. So everything is part of this GitHub universe, it's part of the GitHub repository, so everything is there. Also, the full integration of your pipeline. And here we always talk about workflows. This is how GitHub names it. What it will be in details you will see during the talk. And the stuff is running on virtual machines. And here they support Linux, Windows, and even macOS. So this is about GitHub Actions in general. What is it more? So let's dig a little bit deeper. What do we have here? We have here several components. And you will get it, what each component will do. So the workflow, this is kind of the highest level. This is the configurable automated process. Here, or those get triggered by events, by specific events in the repository or even outside, and those can trigger such workflow. In the workflow, you have then jobs, and each job has a set of steps. And in the step, you can then write your shell script or your actions. What an action is, you will also get during the talk. And you have also the other runners. So the runner is nothing more as kind of the operating system or the machine where your workflow runs on. For me, it's always very useful if I get a picture, and therefore I draw one. So you can see here this beautiful rectangle, which is our repository. And I mentioned already, here events can happen, different kind of events. For example, push, so something, your source code changed, or a scheduler, you have a nightly build, for example, or something with a pull request. It gets opened, closed, reopened, and you can trigger those, or you can act on these events, and you can trigger workflow. But also outside the repository dispatch event, for example, is an event which is happening through an API call. And this is very good to integrate it, especially also with other systems. As I mentioned, we have in the workflow, that's kind of a level below. Here then we have the jobs. This is kind of what the workflow is made of. On the job, this is running on a runner. It can execute on a runner or one on multiple runners. It can also run in parallel on multiple runners. And also you can have several jobs which also get executed parallelly, except they are dependent on each other. And the job is made of steps, multiple steps. So for example, the step can be a shell script. You, I don't know, copy a file or delete a file or whatever. And an action is a reusable component. And this is, for example, checking out the code and so on. Let me also draw the flow. So you can see here a workflow can have multiple events. This can have then a set of jobs with the runners, with the steps, and the action. So for example, you have a push event that triggers a workflow. It will run on Ubuntu, and it will check out the code, it will build it, and will upload your artifact to an artifactory, as an example. So what is this workflow? The workflow at the end produces an artifact, usually. And so, for example, you have a Java project, and you will build it. So the artifact will be then the jar or var file or a zip file. Yeah. So this is a result. Workflows are reusable. That's a really powerful feature. I will not show this one today, but this is really powerful. So you can write a workflow and reuse it. Same as the actions. And the unique identifier is kind of the name. Yeah? So the first line of your YAML file will be then your name build here, for example. And you can also have here a run name. This is then displayed on the execution. And you will see this also afterwards. You can then use also the GitHub context, what you can see here. So a variable that it makes more sense. But you see it afterwards, and then it will be more clear. We have the events. The events are, they trigger the action. Yeah? And it represents an activity in the repository or even outside that will trigger this run. And we have, meanwhile, more than 35 different events. No worries, I will not go through these events now. I just put this number here that it should visualize how powerful the platform is already. Yeah? Because with each event, there comes complexity. Yeah? And with complexity, you can do sophisticated and mature things. This is really, really nice. And you can use, of course, multiple events. Yeah? So you can say, okay, on the push and the pull request, or on the issue and pull request, you run the workflow. Yeah? So you combine this to make things easier. And on the event, you have then types, which is then even makes it more complex, and branches. So for example, you can see it here in the code snippet. We have here our pull request event. On only if it gets opened or reopened on the main branch, then the events, or then the workflow gets triggered. So I guess now it's more clear how you can interact on the events. The jobs are a set of steps that run in sequence to accomplish a task what you want to do. Yeah, and each job runs on its own runner. It can run multiple runners, but always on its own. There is a unique ID. This is for the job name. This is important, especially if you want to get some output of a job. Yeah, you can then use it by the unique ID and so on. This is especially important if you write complex workflows. And the jobs run in parallel, except if they're dependent. Yeah, so they can be dependent on each other. Of course, this makes sense. Yeah, in this example, you can see here, this is a job called deploy, and it runs on the Ubuntu latest. Yeah, and it depends, or it needs the prepare environment job, which makes sense that the environment is there before you deploy. And we have steps. They are pretty simple. Yeah, they are just the shell scripts or the actions. Yeah, they run in order, so you have multiple steps, and they of course always run on the same runner. Why? Yeah, because the runner is defined at the job level. That's the reason why the steps, of course, always run on the same runner. But still, it's important to understand. In the example here, we use here an action, the first one, which is the checkout action, and the second one is just a shell script, and this one is a Maven command where you skip the test, which you of course never should do. And what is this action now? Yeah, so actions are this the individual tasks that you can use to combine, and you can create jobs and customize your workflow with it. This is one of the core features of GitHub. You also have then the marketplace, the GitHub marketplace, where a lot of actions are provided. Ones are from GitHub, ones are from third-party providers. And those are kind of the building blocks, and those really empower your workflow. Here you get then the reuse and the big benefit. And there is the naming convention. So first you always have the author, then you have the action name, and then the version. This could be the version number, release version number. This could be a commit hash, or this could be a branch. So as in the example here, you can see first is the app thread, so a third-party provider. Then we have the SAST scan action, and we take here the master or main. And with this, you can use variables which are set on the action. Important to know if the also from GitHub they approve actions. Then you have a special sign on the marketplace. I always recommend to use those. If it's not proved by GitHub, then you have the risk that someone will not maintain it anymore or it gets deprecated. So be careful which actions you're using. Good. And last, the runners. As I mentioned, these are kind of the virtual machines in the background. So there are GitHub runners, so runners which are provided from GitHub, and also self-hosted ones. So the GitHub runners are Linux, Windows, and macOS. Self-hosted ones are then dependent on what you are doing, but this feature is pretty important, especially if you work in an enterprise company or a regulated company where you have higher security regulations, because you can run them inside your network. Yeah, so it's secured. Of course, you have some drawbacks with it or some limitations, but this is, especially for us, was very important that we have this, that we have our own runners, and yeah, to use them. To give an example, you can see we use the two runners, Ubuntu and macOS. This is how you use it. What's that? And everyone thinks, yeah, that's a workflow. Wow, exactly. Then you understood everything what I said really well. But it's also a YAML file. I will not now explain what a YAML file is, just for those who don't know it at all. You know, the YAML is just the syntax where the workflow is written in. So we need this .yml extension or .yaml, whatever. In GitHub, we store it under the .github/workflows folder. That's a requirement. You need to do that. And from YAML, you know, here is important to use white spaces, no tabs, and a lot of other things which you can use. Here's a beautiful cheat sheet if you're interested into it, or Google it. I will not go into the details, but I will show you the example that you understand. Okay, that's a YAML file. If you have never saw one before, could be, why not? Good. In my opinion, you know, especially as I'm the developer, the most important thing is, or the most interesting is to see something live. And we are also now ready to go to create our own GitHub action or to create our own workflow. So what we want to do, we have an application. Of course, this one is prepared. Yeah, it's in Java. It's your Spring Boot, Maven, whatever. Not so important. It's a digital bank application, and we also have test automation prepared. So the test automation is written with Playwright. Also important, I will not go into those details. We will not go into the build or into the test cases, which I have prepared. They are anyhow very, very, very basic. And of course, everything is in GitHub and everything is marked as public. So you can check out the repositories afterwards as you wish. Yeah. Good. Now let me jump to the browser. Okay. Okay, this is GitHub. Let me just make it bigger. Okay, so this is full screen mode. Good. This is GitHub. Don't need to explain it. What I have prepared here is our repositories. Let me just check them. Okay, so this is the first one. I will just trigger the action. So here you have, this is where you have all the actions. I will just trigger it because it will take some time to run. Here I have input feed, and now I will explain it. Good, let's go back. So this is our application. You can see here our beautiful digital bank. Yeah, as I mentioned, you can of course check it out afterwards if you want to do so. Here we have
not cutting into onto here, but we still have your slide on the screen. We're not seeing the
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for jumping in. That's important to know. Do you see it now?
Yeah, yep. We're looking at GitHub now, yeah.
Good. I need to use that one, of course. Good. What do you have missed? Not so much. In the GitHub Actions, so in this tab, you see all your actions. I just triggered that one. So if you click here, and we use the manual event. I will show you afterwards. And here I just added the IP address and click on start. You see it's already triggered. It runs. I do this just in advance because it takes some minutes. You know, Java, you need to build the stuff. And it's not so interesting to watch a build running. Yeah, from the repository, yeah, simple Java project. Yeah, don't go into these details. Here's the GitHub workflows. Yeah, so here I've stored all my workflows. This one, which we will check, is that one. And what do you see here? So you see, this is our name. It's build and upload. Could also be a better name, to be honest. So what we do, we build, deploy it to UART, and we will also put out the actor. This is the one who triggers the workflow. We use the workflow dispatch event. What I also want to show you, if you go to the edit, in the GitHub, you have a quite good supportive, I call it now IDE. Yeah. So always if you're all events, it's very easy to use it. So for example, the push event, you can use the branches, whatever, main and so on. But for this, now we have the repository dispatch event. And as an input, we have here our IP address. Then we set an environment. This is just a set of variables which we can use then in our jobs. So first we have here our system on the test IP address, which we get here. And then Tomcat path port, which is of course always important. Then we come already to the jobs. This is then kind of free text. This is what I always like to check the environment first. Could also be after the build. I do it now before the build if everything is up and running. So I just do a short lookup. First I print out the IP address. Then I use here an SSH action. So I just look, is the port available on this IP address? If so, then we run the build, test, and deploy action, which is dependent on the check environment. Yeah. By the way, here you can see secrets. What secrets are, I will show you afterwards, because this is important to understand how GitHub and the GitHub Actions deals with secret management. This is, I guess, important for each and every company. So we use here the user and the SSH key, which I'm stored in the GitHub context. Good. So we use here our environment UART. Yeah. Environment management is also possible. We run on Ubuntu latest, and here you can see we use the first action. It's the checkout action. And then we run, for example, here a setup Java. Yeah, it's always a fresh runner, so nothing is on site. Meanwhile, there is something on site, but always care about it to install your stuff by your own. And here on the right side, you always have the marketplace already. Yeah. So, for example, if you type in here Java, you get the setup Java. You see here all this verified by GitHub. And the cool stuff, you have immediately the code snippets here. Yeah. So you can copy paste it, put it there. Just set the variables what you need, like version, distribution, if you want to have some caching and so on. Good. Then we run our unit tests. After they passed, we run our build of the package. We do some renaming. We upload it out afterwards. It will upload it to the workflow run. You will see this after the workflow is finished. Then we do some cleanup on our server, so on our destination. Of course, we want to clean up the previous deployments. We copy it there. Then we run some. Then this job is finished. Then we go to the next job. Here we run an install. Very often you have to do some installations. Yeah. Here, just for the sake of demonstration, I run here on Ubuntu, and I will just copy it from one folder to the Tomcat folder. So for the deployment for the Tomcat folder, but very often you need to do some configurations, preparations, whatever. Yeah. And after this one passed, we run our automated tests. And these tests are written in another repository. Yeah. So we need to trigger those. And one way is that we fire a curl, so just an API call. Yeah. So this one event which is outside the repository, and we trigger our player test and also hand over the system on the test, so the IP address. Good. So this is from that side. Let me go now to the run. Okay, I come up there. So let's go to the GitHub Actions. It's already finished. It's green. Good. everything is live, you know. Good. So this is what I triggered before. Yeah. So we have here the check environment. It prints the IP address. So everything nice. Yeah. Does some things not so interesting. What is more interesting? The build. So you can see here all the steps. We do this. We run the unit tests, for example. You have all the standard output there. Yeah. You have here the build results. Yeah. Whatever you need. If something fails, you have it there. You can check it. If there are some secrets and so on, they are always marked. You cannot read them. And after the build, I also run the upload API, the upload action. And then you can see here is the artifact of this workflow, of the workflow of the build, yeah? And we upload it. So already here, this is the part of the CI. Yeah? So we have run our build and we have our application or artifact ready for everyone. Yeah? If you have the version and so on, everyone can download it, run it, try it out. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Then we install the application. Then we trigger the test. So here we can see that we executed our curl. And of course, we need to check now, did it work? So this is the other repository. It's the Digibank playwright tests. And so, as I mentioned, simple tests. Here we also have workflows. For example, the run tests. And here we have the repository dispatch event. This is the event for the API core. Yeah, that's important. Here we have also the types, which is very important. This is part of the body. So that you understand what I mean. We check the time, 5 minutes, good. So this is here the event type. Yeah, this is mandatory. And here we say the trigger tests. This is the match. And the system of the test is the IP address, which we of course want to use because maybe this changes. Good. Then here we set it also to the environment. This is the payload of this request. What we are doing here, we have here just one job, which is called end-to-end test. We run on the Ubuntu latest. We check out our source code. Then here we use npm, which is JavaScript. So we run or build our application. And then here we set a local variable and run our tests. And afterwards, here we have also the condition. This is really important in that case, because if the tests will fail, this step will fail, and then your job will stop, and you will lose your test reports, which is not good. So use conditions. So if always, then doesn't matter if it fails or not, it will run it. And here we again just upload here the index HTML file in that case that we can check the test results. Good. Let's check if it worked. Hopefully, 7 minutes ago. So okay, it seems to be. You can see here also kind of a beautiful run name. Yeah, if you're the IP address, the trigger, which event was it, and who did it, which is always quite good to know this information. Good. If we go here, everything is green. So let's jump immediately to the test result. We have here a test report.html. Let's download it. And of course, let's look into it. So I'm also curious if it worked. Very good. It's just a very simple test. What we're doing, we go into the login. We are filling some login data. So you can see here the IP address is the right one, this one, and at the end, we just do an assertion that the page title is right. So everything looks good. Awesome. So what we did now, we built our application, we run our unit test, we deploy it to a server, we run it, and then we trigger the API tests against this application, test it, and now we can, deploy to the next stage, run again. This is now just some more servers, some more configurations. And this is how it works. One thing what I promised you is missing. This is secret, sorry. First, this is also environment management. You saw you can set the environment. Here you can then set the variables, what you want to do. And for the secrets management on the actions, you can see here those secrets. Yeah, you can set it on environment level. You can set them on organization level, what I just did here for the API key. And those secrets you set once, and then afterwards you cannot read them anymore. Okay? You can change it, but you cannot read it anymore. Only through a workflow execution. So only GitHub itself can, and you can also not output it or anything. Good, let's come back. Last slide. GitHub Actions benefits, or to sum it up, no installation needed, which means kind of no maintenance. Yeah, so you don't have to care about the runners and so on. Yeah, you just say Ubuntu latest and go for it. Yeah, you just do some configuration. You don't do any maintenance of this stuff. Awesome. It's pretty fast. Yeah, we want to have fast cycle times, so from commit to kind of customer can use it. Here we are really fast. Things run in parallel. You don't have to care about much, and this is the reason why it's very fast execution. Yeah, the runner's been really fast up. It supports kind of any language, framework, or environments, yeah, because it's up to you. You get this blank Ubuntu machine, and you can use any languages. I don't know here any restrictions. For most of them, you have already prepared actions. If it's something very exotic, yeah, you have to do it by your own. It follows the try principle, yeah. So don't repeat yourself. You have the marketplace, you can reuse a lot of actions, you can write your own actions, which you can reuse, you can write your own workflows, which you can reuse, which is really good, yeah, because clone code, yeah, you should not reinvent the wheel. And at the end, yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, of course, the source was prepared, but still in half an hour, I show you how to build an end-to-end pipeline. And you can, of course, do really sophisticated things. Believe me, we have crazy stuff done with it. So it's very powerful. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention. Hopefully I was good in time. If you have now any questions, I don't know if we do this now or afterwards. But yeah, that's from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. If you want to get in contact, please, you can also write me on LinkedIn as place. Thank you.
Yeah, very interested, Matthias. Very, very interested, and looking at some of the a lot of the comments that coming back. We know GitHub Actions is, I would say, the new kid on the block. You know, recently, a couple of years back, but we're looking at a lot of people talking about Jenkins dying and is it dead and why they're not going to use it. Could you elaborate for some of us why we would go with GitHub Action and not Jenkins in any particular case?
If I can elaborate, why not to use Jenkins?
Yeah. Okay. Why? What I'm saying is Jenkins is dead. You know, Jenkins in itself is, is a session now. Yeah.
With Jenkins, you always have to do some maintenance, yeah, and you're always kind of locked. I mean, for me, of course, Jenkins is powerful. Yeah, you can use it with a lot of plugins and so on. You can also do great stuff, but someone has to care about it. And I really like the fact, especially with GitHub Actions, that you profit from this marketplace. Yeah, we integrated now security checks with linters and so on. You just use these actions and it's integrated. And with Jenkins, it's not that easy, in my opinion. Yeah? And it's pretty. I have not seen any new change or new technology increasing that fast in this company. Yeah, because usually if we come with a new tool, it takes time that people really go on it. Yeah, but most of the teams which had already Jenkins in place, they switched more or less immediately to GitHub Actions. And they were like, thank you. Yeah, we waited for this because they don't want to deal with it anymore. They don't want to run the server before Jenkins. They don't want to do this. Yeah, this is something we know nowadays. We are all short in resources. Yeah, we want to optimize our output, and no one wants to care about a build server. Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. That's something we look at. But now we have GitHub Actions, and then we have GitLab. You know, how much of a similarity it have within the both of them?
To be honest, I don't. I mean, I also use for some project GitLab, but I have not built the other pipelines with it. I really went with GitHub Actions, and I don't know if GitHub Actions is now better than GitLab CI or how they call it, or AWS CodeStar or how is it doing. I don't know if there's a big difference. Yeah, I can only speak for GitHub Actions that there is a huge community around it. I guess it's the biggest community, especially for the open source contribution, and therefore this was also our driver to go for GitHub Actions and not or for GitHub and not for one of the competitors. But this does not mean that they are not good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. It's all about, at the end of the day, it all comes down to usage, which is better and which is suited for your particular thing at the time. So I mean that in itself is brilliant. Well, for me, I have both Jenkins and GitHub Actions and some stuff and running, and I use also Circle CI, sorry, in for it. From your experience, could you say or tell us why GitHub Action is becoming so popular in the industry today?
I guess because it's very easy to use. Well, maybe one thing which I have not mentioned: everything what you have seen now, is free. Everyone can use it. I pay nothing for this. GitHub provides this for free. Of course, up to a degree. You can do it now production-wise. But this is, if you have an open source project, you can run it for free, use it for free. That's really nice, because this is how you get used to the technology, and this is then, of course, how you bring it to your company. Maybe it's a mix of it. GitHub, of course, has a huge benefit that a lot of open source projects run on GitHub. And if you're already there, then you try to explore it. You try all features, you start with the tagging, with labeling, you evolve your project, you bring in some quality standards. So, because this is also what I do, and I guess we all do. If we check out the Git repository, so for example, I want to try out a new framework, I go to the GitHub repository and check, latest commits. Does the last build work? You just scroll down and see then the labels, and maybe SAST checks and how many vulnerabilities. And this is pretty easy to develop with GitHub Actions. And this comes kind to a quality sign, or label for source code. If the last commit is, or if the last build breaks, this is for me a sign that maybe there is some issues on the main branch now. And I guess altogether come to the fact that people really jump on this topic on GitHub Actions and want to use it, and also want to use it in the company.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. And I'm not seeing any more questions. What I would say is, if anybody have any further questions to ask, they could always pop it in, and we could always get Matt. I'm sure Matt would love to respond to them at a later date if they do come in. And saying that, any final words from you, Matt, before we send you off for the day?
Stay tuned. If you like the talk, try it out by your own. If you also have some, please, if you have some optimizations or feedback, if something was too long, or please just drop me a message on LinkedIn. I'm always very open for feedback. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. Hopefully it was interesting for you. Give it a try. I like it. A lot of people like it.
Yeah, thank you. Also. Thank you very much for that. And it was a pleasure having you here today. Okay, then, yes, have a good one.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine.